Hi everyone, welcome back. Last time we went through kind of how to do the mouth, and now we're going to work on the eyes here. So to start off, I've just basically sketched her eyes out. I can see there's a couple problems with them. For one, they're a little bit too high up from where I want them. So what I'm going to do, I guess I'll start over in case you've missed the previous videos. My painting layer, I'm going to duplicate it. And then I'm going to create a clipping mask. And then I'm going to make a selection, whoops, of her eyes here. And I'm going to feather. And that just makes it so it won't have a real hard edge when you move the selection down. So I'm going to go ahead and move it down just a little bit. Let's see. I think it could stand to go a little bit more like that. Oops, this one needs to go down a little bit further, so I'm going to reselect it, refeather it, and just do that. Okay. So now we're going to go in and so I'm going to pick a dark brownish color, kind of how it is already. I'm going to change the opacity on my brush to around 38%. That's good. Then I'm going to go in and kind of work more on like the shape, the exact shape I want. So it's almost a bit of a sharp angle up here to here. And then it goes down, and there's usually eyelashes here in the corner of her eye here. And then her lower lip will come down, lower lid will come down, and then there's a bit of a triangular shape there where, you know, your little tear duct areas right around here, and then go and we'll meet the bottom line, and I'm actually going to bring this a little bit more of a sharper angle up, and that's okay. We can quote unquote erase this just by picking up the colors around it and working on that. I think this needs to come a little bit more like that, and it's a little bit longer than it needs to be. So let's just kind of cut this part down a bit, and I'm going to make this part a little bit bigger. Pick this darker color up, make it a little bit bigger. Okay, go ahead and do the same with this other eye, and because it's kind of curved over, you know, wedged over on this side, we'll go ahead and work with that angle going into the corner of her face there, and then it'll come down a sharpish angle, come here, and over here, and then this is kind of tricky. Most of this is covered in shadows, but her bottom lid will go here and up there. Let's see how this looks. This eye is a little bit too wide, so we're gonna select it, feather it, and just bring it in just a little bit. There we go. Okay, so that's more of a precise shape of what I want, and so I don't get confused now, I can go in and quote unquote, like I said, erase by just sort of picking up colors around it. My brush is a high enough opacity. You can come back in and later and smooth out these details. Don't worry too much about making a mess now. Okay, so we'll do the whites of her eyes next. And eye whites aren't actually like bright white. You'll see if you do that, they look almost like demonic with how white they are. It just doesn't look natural. So what you actually do is pick kind of a peach gray color. And it can be pretty light, and we'll go in and add some more shadows later. But for now, we'll pick this peach gray color. I don't want this quite at 100. I'll put that 45 is good. And I'm just going to go around where I've mapped out her iris to be and put in the whites. It's fine if your whites are kind of overtaking where your iris was, because your eyeball, the color part of it, will be going over the whites eventually anyway. So that's for that side. We'll do this side real quick. Put my brush down a bit so I can fit in there more. And now what we want to do is, her eyeball is way too big. Let's bring it in this way a bit And I'll fix that later. There we go. Okay, now what we want to do is shade it. So let's have our thing, 33% range. That's pretty good. We're going to add some shady shadows in the corners. So the light will mostly hit this area. And then there'll be sort of shadows in this side area. We're just going to block some color in there and we'll smooth it out later. And I have a bit of a trick later with the multiplying on my brush, multiplying filter on my brush to kind of do the final shading area, but just get it started. And then what color eyes shall we do now? We can do some green eyes. That'll be nice. So let's pick kind of a base green color. I'm going to bump up my opacity a little bit more. And I'm just going to draw in right where her eyeball should be. That looks a bit creepy right now, but it'll look correct later. Let's see. I want it there. Just trying to figure out exactly where. It's kind of hard when you're this close up. Yeah, see, I can see I've derped her eyes out a bit. It's a bit better here. Actually, I think I remember I was going to have her looking off, so I'm going to go ahead and move her eyeball out this way a bit. So she's looking away from the camera. Okay, I know that's a bit of a mess. That's not too bad though. So let's go in now and we'll work on the more detailed areas. So this, we're going to go ahead and kind of nail it down, as they say. Get this area totally... since she's going to wear makeup, I'm going to make these lines a bit more bold. If you were working on someone without makeup, or maybe a guy or something, you'd be a little more gentle with these lines. And typically, if your eyes are going to be shown close up, there is a lid that's visible, if I can get this down. That goes about here. You can draw that in. You want to be a little more careful the way I did it. Draw that in like that, and then show like the highlight here. But I doubt it's going to show much from as far out as we have it. This is a bit wonky still, but I'll fix it as I go. So we can go ahead and add that in just a darker shade there. That's not too bad. Okay, let's go ahead and blend this this area. I need to turn my opacity down to 17. That's good. And just sort of blend in the whites here. And this top part eventually will have quite a shadow, but we're not going to add that yet. We're going to actually add that after we've detailed in the eyelid parts and stuff. So blend this area in a bit. Fix the eye shape. It's not quite round. Okay. Darker area here. Okay, well, let's go ahead and add the pupils, and we'll have it 66 or 68. That's good. We'll go ahead and knock that down, see what we're doing a little better, and we'll add it here and here. And that looks okay. I know her eyes just don't quite match up. I can fix that real quick here. I'm gonna merge my layers, duplicate layer, and then create a clipping mask, and then I can tweak this little, let's see, drag it down, and then fix this area that got a little out of control. pupil's a little bigger on this side than the other side. You can just kind of work it in a bit there. And I know she looks worried now. It's just because her eyelid hasn't been drawn in. She won't look quite so panicked in the future. So I'm going to take this one now and feather and just move it up a bit and over a bit. Those are a little better aligned. And it's kind of important to get the alignment in the early stages because it's really hard to fix later. Okay, so when drawing in her eyelid, the darker part will go here. And then there's like a little bit of a lid here. And then another dark area here. And kind of goes down. And I know I've got my opacity way up, but that's kind of the general shape we're going to be going for here. And the same thing over here. We're going to have a visible highlight here. The darker lid will go here, and a little bit of a wrinkle that matches up about there. So let's go ahead and get a darker color. Work this area. And down, down, down. Same here. Work this area. Oops. Then I'm going to lower my opacity so I can do some finer little touches here. I'm going to have that here, have this here. I'm going to have a nice highlight on the lids here. And then you are going to go ahead and just blend this wrinkle in as best you can by picking up the colors. A little more detailed work. You can blow it up if you want, if you feel more comfortable working. Kind of work there and there. Okay, so we have those a little more detailed out, and you can see when you go back, you can see kind of how the wrinkles are going to be. You'll have to do a little more blending before that's finalized. But I'm going to go ahead and just work on the general eye for just real quick. Set this in. There's going to be a highlight here, kind of where her eyeball will be, and there'll be a shadow under the eyebrow there. There'll be a highlight here, another shadow. Fix this bottom layer. You can see there's a bit of a gap here where the skin isn't quite matching. I'm just going to fill that in a bit underneath. And I just selected the bottom layer, and I still have that top layer on, so that's why it's not showing when I mark it, except for underneath. So now we're going to turn my opacity down, make my brush a little bit smaller, and fix this little area here. Make this shadow a bit darker. Here and here. Since this is the other side of her, I'll go ahead and make that. I think my hardness is a bit higher than I want. I'm going to lower that now, so this will come down a little smoother. And eventually we'll have, you know, a whole nose. Will come down there and go in the nose area. I don't want to work too much on that right now. Okay, let's see. Over here, where the more shadows will be, put some shadows there. And let's see, underneath here, I think I need to bump up my saturation a bit. So this isn't quite so strong. Okay. Let's go ahead and I'm gonna speed up the video again a bit while I blend this area a little more, since I made such a mess when applying these strokes. Okay. I went ahead and lightened this up a bit. I thought it shouldn't be quite as dark as this side since the light source is over here. So now we're going to go in and I'm going to add some darker areas to the around the eye corners. I don't want it brown, I want kind of a brownish gray. So I'm just going to go in, oops, make my brush a little bit bigger and just kind of add these in here and here and then here and here. And I know you're wondering maybe why I didn't do that to begin with, but we just kind of build up the contrast a bit. And we're going to go ahead and work on the eyeball now. So I'm going to take this green, I'm going to pick a darker green, and I'm just going to go around it. You want to be somewhat clean here with the eye shape. Make your final circle. Do the same over here. Okay, this one wasn't quite as clean, that's okay. I'm going to go ahead and fix that. Her eyes are a little uneven. It's okay though, because I'm going to lower this lid here, right here. Merge the layer, get a little bit closer to the current one I'm having work done on, and redo that. So I merged it down, I duplicated it, I created a clipping mask, and then I selected it. Oops, I'm going to feather it about 10 pixels, and then I'm free transform it, and then I'm going to warp, and then I'm going to just go down just a little bit, and then this matches up a little bit more nicely. And there's just a little touch of a mess I get to clean up. It's not too bad. Okay, so that's not too bad. We have the darker iris. Now we're gonna go in, and this color in here is not gonna be universal. So we're gonna have darker area here, darker area around the eyeball, I'm sorry, the pupil, and then some like highlights here. It's kind of, you know, a little dimmed down version that we're gonna do here. So I'm gonna take a darker color. I have my opacity about 25, and I think I'm gonna make it a little more saturated. Make her eyes pop a little bit more. And I'm just gonna go ahead and lay in some darker area here. Lay in some darker area here. Do the same on this side. Then I'm gonna take it, make it even darker, and I'm actually gonna make it really green. And just add just a little bit on the corners here. I didn't quite mean to take over that yellow completely, but that's okay, we'll just reapply it. I'll take that, get that yellow color back again. Sort of reapply it there, so it's not totally wiped out. Okay, then we're going to take another color, and that's okay to just keep going and doing other colors, and don't worry about coloring over your pupil. Just do that green right there. So this is like a more saturated green right around the pupils, and I'm not worrying too much of this top area because that's going to be covered later by her shadows and makeup and stuff. And by kind of making your brushes, what I'm doing is I'm sort of picking up the stylus and putting it down. It gives it a bit of a textured look, and it's not too bad, you know. So we're going to take a dark green now, and once again we're going to go over and fix any little smudges we've done, or you know, any smudged lines we've ruined with smudging. Do that. Same on this side. I'm gonna move this over. I've lost my shape just a bit here. If you want it to be, you know, for finalizing stuff, you could go in and work with that. It's okay though for now. I'm not too worried how this looks exactly. So already you can see her eyes look a little more 3D. This eye is really wonky. Just noticed. So I'm gonna go ahead and, you guessed it, I'm gonna do a little adjustment on it. Duplicate layer, clipping mask. Oops, clipping mask to the wrong one. Clipping mask. Select, feather, and I'm just gonna I'm gonna work this little eyeball. Now this is harder at this stage. But I think we can just make a very minor move out there. There, it's better. It doesn't look so... Oh, I moved it too far. Just move it down just a bit. That's better. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a tool called the Dodge tool, and it's over here, Dodge tool. I'm going to select, you can select highlights or midtones for what you want to do here. I'm going to select midtones. I'll make my exposure about 17%. And what the Dodge tool does is it kind of saturates an area with color in a way. I mean, it does different things, but the way we're going to use it now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of make a few little, I'm going to make my brush fairly small, make a few little lines here, like that, and you can already see the saturation is getting a little brighter there. It's I don't know how to explain it, but it's dodging the color. Then I make it a little bigger, and then when I go over this area here, those start to pop out more. So there's the general, idea behind that. You can work on that, and you can make it a little bit better in the future, but we're going to stop there. I'm going to take a pure black now, and I'm going to just work in that iris. I'm sorry, pupil. Until it's just midnight black there. Okay, and then we're going to take the brush tool, and we're going to choose the multiply. You can keep it on black, and you're literally just going to drag it over for the shadow here. And I'll do it about 3 times. Don't worry too much about these areas. We can fix those with blending later. I think I'll do this one another time. Okay, let's go back. So now that's created a bit of a shadow from her eyelid down to her eyeball. We can go and do one down here. Let's maybe not make it quite so big. There, if we want. And one here. And then you can take your brush, put it back on normal, kind of reestablish where those highlights are. And then I'm going to take pure white. I just hit the D key to put this back as black and white, the X key. It's just my little quick thing, and add this white in here and here. And you'll, later on, you can go in and blend this a little bit more. I probably won't show that in the video because it'll take forever. You just, blend this area in, blend this area in. Make sure it's not so dark here. So now we have, kind of more highlighted eyes, and that's exactly what we're going to do next is the highlight. So I'm going to go ahead and just pick white. We have our opacity at 19, that's okay. And I know typically people will do like one highlight here, then like maybe here, and that'll be their highlight, and that's fine. But the like real circle look is it's not like super natural looking. So what I would suggest doing is, I'm going to bump my opacity up a bit so this works better. Maybe to 55. Yeah, that's better. I would suggest just making kind of an odd shape, maybe. If you're trying to get like an actual reflection of something, that's okay. You have to do it pretty much exactly the same on each eye. Just make an odd shape, and you can make like, here, and then you can have like something down here maybe. So here, and then something down here. And then I'm going to go ahead and make this just a little bit big, so it's not super. Okay, so as long as these somewhat match, this one doesn't quite match up. When you go down, go out, it's not, it just looks a little bit more natural not to have just a circle there. And so those are the eyes. I'm going to add another little highlight going out. Like there's, break that up a bit more. Okay. Now we're gonna add her eyelashes on this area, and this is the first time, I'm going to merge that. First time I'm going to use another layer and not have it be part of my main painting layer, just because if I make any adjustments later or anything, those eyelashes will be kind of a mess. So eyelashes. Usually I wait to the very end till I've blended all this out to do it, but since I want to cover all the eyes at this point, we're gonna go ahead and just go for it now. You know, depending on how realistic you want this to be. You know, if you want her to have like super big eyelashes like that, that's okay. But I'll just kind of do this kind of moderate, medium. Like if she has makeup but she doesn't have fake eyelashes. So let's go ahead and make your brush pretty small. That's about, I'm on 5. And we're gonna go ahead, I'm gonna start at the corner, and you literally just draw it pretty much in lash by lash. But what I tend to do is kind of, when I draw pretty much any hair, I make it come to a point, and these are exaggerated, because, you know, hair doesn't do that. It's never like that. It tends to group sort of in points. So when you're doing eyelashes or hair, you kind of want them, you know, grouped in these pointed areas here. And that's what we're going to do here. So just draw maybe a couple where you want them to start with, and some of these eyelashes will go down. And you can have that, and then I just go back up in points, or, you know, I go back from that side, bring it in, bring it in, and bring it in. And when you do these bottom ones, like I said, I'd probably normally have this all blended out, but we're on another layer completely, so it doesn't really matter. Don't go too crazy with these. I would just add a few little ones, because that's when it'll start looking really odd. And I would space these out more than you do at the top, just because it tends to be how the eye works. So now you have her eyelashes there, and you can see how that works. I'm gonna make my brush a little bit bigger. A few areas I'm gonna go out a little bit further, and we can just kind of fill them in there with color. Now if you're doing you know, more makeup, you could keep your brush opacity down low and just sort of trace around maybe where her makeup would be, like there, and then a little bit there. Her eye should just, yeah. Okay, I'm gonna end the video here. I would probably go through this a little bit more, and if you want to get real fancy, I think I've made her eyelashes a little too long here. If you want to get real fancy, you can take like a neutral color and put a few little highlights in there, and then make them look a little even more realistic. Oh, and one last thing before I end it. After you've drawn in the eyelashes, it's a good idea to go with like a brush where they would cast a shadow. I did that kind of rushed, but that's about how you might do it. Okay? So I'm going to end the video here. In the next video I'll probably do her ear real quick, and then we'll talk about how to make her skin tones a little bit more natural looking, and we'll talk about the final blending. And then in the video after that, I'll probably go through her hair, and that'll probably be about it. So thank you for watching. I hope you're enjoying the videos, and I'll see you next time.